Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to an absolutely glorious sun-baked day in the southwestern desert of Nevada. For the first time since 2000, World Challenge, now under the moniker of SRO Motorsports America, and the Blancpain GT World Challenge returns to Las Vegas and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Hi, everybody. Great to have you with us. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine. We'll be capturing all the action down in the pit and paddock area. And this is a venue that is producing some interesting challenges. Obviously, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a big high-speed oval, but it does have the infield road course. And we have one here that is 2.51 miles long, Cal, 12 counted corners, and that really doesn't include what are almost flat-out straights, but they're the long bending apron runs here. And it has been brand new for everybody, clean slate. It's been kind of fun to watch everybody figure it out.
It has, and clean slate is the appropriate term because the track has been very green. Not a lot of grip when they initially went out in practice and test sessions yesterday, but since that time it's gradually rubbering in as we get this Pirelli P0 rubber onto the racetrack. And I think coming in, everyone was very uncertain about how the makeup of this circuit would suit these GT3 cars, but talking to the teams this weekend, and particularly the drivers, it's entertaining. It's a good little circuit. It runs really well for the lap. The key is going to be not so much in this qualifying session, but the races tomorrow. How will it race? What overtaking opportunities are there around these 12 turns here at Las Vegas?
And one of the big issues has just been, as you said, it's a green track, rubbering it in just a little bit. So not a surprise that each session we're seeing them go quicker and quicker. And they had a number of practice sessions on Thursday, test sessions, I should say, 2 official practices yesterday. And now it's time to get serious with quali.
It is, and I think this qualifying session is very important because I think track position will be key. It'll be tough to pass, as we said. So I think there'll be extra emphasis here. As you can see, the cars set up on their jacks. Tire warmers are now allowed since the midpoint in this season. So they'll keep those Pirelli P0s nice and toasty before the last moment, throw them on the car, and off we go.
And that's going to be part of the study, too, is just how much tire wear is on this track. I mean, it's absolutely an unknown, and everybody's monitoring that very, very closely, of course. And you're allotted so many tires, and you literally have to be able to manage them the right amount here to make sure you've got tires in your quiver, if you will, when it comes time for both races down there. And speaking of down there, I mentioned Ryan Marine down the pit and paddock. There's a look at the number 61 Ferrari. But we also have a driver that a few years ago made a couple of starts in Pirelli World Challenge competition. And Ryan, it's nice to have that gentleman back in the paddock.
It's been a few years for Ringer van der Zande in World Challenge competition, as it was known then, Blancpain GT World Challenge America now. And stepping back into the cockpit, driving alongside an old friend in Martin Fuentes this weekend.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a cool championship. I think SRO is doing a good job all over the world at the moment. And I was in Laguna Seca with the IGCT or ICGT and Spa 24 Hours. I'm here now, so it's nice to have a taste of that. And Martin is a great guy. I mean, he and I go like, I think 4 years back that we were racing together, and he said like, Ringer, come on, we're going to Vegas. So I said, I'm not saying no to that.
Everyone wants to know about this racetrack. Pretty much no one's ever been here before in any of its road course configurations. What has it been like?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's very slippery if you go off track, so you want to stay within the white lines, like any other track, really. But the cornering is good. There's quite a bit of Mickey Mouse going on at the end of the track, but there's a big oval. You feel like Ricky Bobby right there. And then there's some good braking points, some good fast corners as well. So everything is in it, but yeah, some parts are can improve a little, but for now it's been pretty good for our car at least.
Thank you very much.
All right, cool.
Yeah, he's a character, and certainly Martin is, and it's great to have them paired up. And for Martin, that is the second weekend in a row where he, after already having clinched the AM Championship, he and the team decided to step up and take a stab at the Pro-Am category. And it'll be fun to watch Martin with Ringer, and Ringer's a ringer. He's quick.
He is. Dangerous combination in Vegas, those two.
Yeah, if they have a good weekend, watch out. All right, here we go. Green flag, and qualifying for the first of the 2 doubleheader races is about to unfold. Oh, a little disagreement there about who is going to get out on track first, but that's the important thing to note. First going out, if you're in an all-pro combination, you can start whoever you want the first one, but for Pro-Am, there's actually a regulation that determines who qualifies in each session.
Yes, the lower graded driver has to do this first qualifying session. They'll then start race 1. then they'll flip-flop for race 2 with the pro or the higher graded driver qualifying in the second segment here. 15 minutes each, little break in between to get a reset, put some fresh tires on. It's been an amazing championship run, particularly in the Pro-Am class. We had some great runs. We're looking at the next car in line right behind this CrowdStrike Mercedes AMG that's driven by George Kurtz right now. Mike Headland right behind him, putting a storming finishing drive at Road America to win overall, and held off some of the best GT drivers in the world to make that happen with Dane Cameron. A little bit of a change in color here. Got the chrome bling on this weekend as it's Vegas.
Exactly. And their slogan, they said, for the weekend is "Bling it."
They did.
They did indeed. And yeah, Mike Headland is just, since he joined the team, Brett Curtis started off with the team and had a little issue with his back, resulting from a problem with fitting in the car and resulting in him having to step out of the car. They put Headland in it, and Mike, he just adapted to that car incredibly quickly.
He was immediately home on his home circuit at Sonoma, and I think he and Dane have now had 5 wins together. So chasing down Barkey and Marcelli for the Pro-Am Championship, but there's a rule in place. Just want to clarify one thing: if Dane Cameron does get above those 2 in the driver standings, because he's not been paired with the same AM driver all season long, he'll not be eligible for the crown. But it's certainly been a great fight to watch.
It has been, yeah. And they're certainly still in it for the team championship, and that's a big thing for them as well. Here you see, as you come through that first quick left-right chicane, very tight, and then this long apron run, and they're guesstimating that these cars are in that long bending apron run for some 10 seconds, Cal. That's a serious amount of load.
Yeah, and it's not easy. On new tires, that apron section should be relatively easy, flat, but if you get a little bit of tire deg, remember you're going to be looking at a 40 to 50 minute run, depending on how you slice the pie up tomorrow in the 90-minute races. Get a bit of tire deg, suddenly you might be hanging on a little bit through that very loaded apron left-hand turn.
Exit of turn 7 here in the infield straight, where they'll actually be starting the races and handling the restarts. This is into kind of a deceptively quick turn 8, it seems, and then this is just like almost a triple apex corner in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, one thing that they've got to be very much on top of here is track limits. They actually put a tire bundle right there in that apex of turn 10, because they were literally straddling straight across there and shortcutting the circuit.
Moving up here and taking a look at the number 5 Unit Nutrition Gradient Racing Acura NSX. And this is Till Bechtelsheimer, who has been very quick on numerous occasions in this car this year.
He has a victory to his name, and just a joy to have in our paddock. Good historic vintage racer over in Europe, but put him in one of these current breed GT3 cars, and he's very quick as well.
A 133.292 puts him up atop the overall order at this stage. We're going to drop back and pick up Scott Hargrove, who's been nominated to start in the All-Pro number 58 Porsche Consulting Wright Motorsports Porsche.
So they're able to use a little bit of the banking there as you come up.
Boom. Hole for Hargrove, just to let you know.
Yeah, and then you can see that very tricky chicane. Just watching there in the practice sessions from the side of the racetrack, if you start to abuse those curbs, it really unsettles the race car. You maybe catch it and get away with it and maybe pull a really fast lap out, but consistency, I think, is to minimize how much of those curbs you eat up through 1 and 2.
Very quick run here, and then heavy braking into a very tight turn 3, where you literally just sort of dive between 2 of the concrete barriers here onto the infield road course. And Andy Suchek now just turned to 132.625, just a 10th off of Hargrove. And let's hop on board with the Bentley boy here, and you can get a feel for this entire lap, folks.
Heavy braking down into turn 3. Then we'll have rhythm section. Car will have a ton of grip right now in terms of those fresh Pirelli P0s that all of the guys will be using in these qualifying segments. This is where the start finish, or the start line and restart line is for tomorrow, right there between 7 and 8. But it's still going to be busy here, which will effectively be the first couple of corners on those starts and restarts.
This starts this long arcing turn 9, and you straighten the wheel out for an instant, and you're right back into turning here into 10.
See that big tire bundle driver's right there. This is an awkward section. Just looking at it when we did a couple laps yesterday, Greg, hard to really figure out how to eat the curbs. There's a big curb on the inside which would throw you to the wall there on the exit if you use it too much or abuse it too much. There you see it just sneaks up on the banking a little bit, and by the time you get to the start-finish line, you've got to be underneath that white line right there. Watch Andy, he's kind of using those curbs a little bit, and I think it really is to his detriment in terms of, whoa, so close there at that exit of 2. Goes to the top, 32.4, about a 3/10 gap to Hargrove, who's second.
Yeah, that was precision driving, and that was the one thing that was interesting about this, was there are parts of this track I feel very street course, where you've got to be absolutely precise, and if you catch that curb in 12, it's wall. If you do this, it's wall. And then there's the infield section where it's wide open.
Yeah, that brake zone and turn into the infield, that wall does not look particularly appealing, and it got everyone's attention when they saw it on the track walk for the first time.
George Kurtz in the crowd strike entry from DXDT Racing, the Mercedes AMG. Currently sits 10th overall, 6th in the Pro-Am category.
See George there really not touching the curb. There's different approaches. I believe the best way is just kind of use the first half of the V of the shape, the profile of that curbing through 1 and 2 without unsettling the car too much. We saw Soucek admittedly on the pole, but really abusing the curves, but kind of throws the car around when you try to get back to power and start that launch down this apron section, which is high speed, and if you're late to the power, it's just going to cost you for the whole lap.
So if you're going to do it, you might try it once and get within a whisker of that wall like he did, and then go, okay, that was it.
New tires, maybe you get away with it. You got enough bite in the tires to abuse it a little bit, but I think for consistency and not making a mistake, just using half of that curb through 1 and 2 is the way to go.
So it's currently Soucek in the Bentley, Hargrove in the Porsche, 3 Baptista in the Team Bentley, the number 3, then the 61 of Tony Vielander in the Arferi Ferrari, and rounding out the top 5, and on the Pro-Am pole right now remains Till Bechtelsheimer in that number 5. Anthony Imparato, 2nd in Pro-Am, 6th overall, the 91 Porsche, and then Hedlund in the 43 real-time Acura.
Hedlund just went personal best, and he's just gone personal best first sector, so he's gradually improving. A lot of that is down to the tire pressures that you start with. Temps are there because you're in those tire blankets before you jump out there, so it's not so much a temperature issue as it is pressures.
Watching for Kurt, see if he moves up from his current 6th in class, 10th overall position. And not at this point. Number 64, Brett Curtis, who the bit of irony here, he started the season in this car, Brett did, in the number 43, and as we said, he just didn't fit. He's a tall guy, didn't quite fit, and tweaked his back a little bit, had to get out of it, and put together a late program to hop on board with a guy that in the next qualifying session we'll see him, and it's great to have him back racing, Alessandro Balzan, in a Scuderia Corsa Ferrari. And I asked Brett, I said, it doesn't seem to be a bigger car than the Acura here. And he said, no, he said, but just the ergonomics inside. For me, it's more comfortable.
Well, I think you get him and Balzan in the car together.
You could. This is true. This is true. And
Balzan is a little jockey.
Yeah, you wonder about the size of the seat insert that obviously the pedals and everything move that allow him to adjust it pretty quickly. But
one of those guys, when he has a carry-on bag for the airport, he doesn't have to fold his pants.
Oh, that's good. I have to remember that one. Here's a number 3 of Rodrigo Baptista. The K-Pax Bentley, obviously very fast.
What a season these guys have put together. Immense competition this year, but they have executed at an even higher level than they put together last year, which was again a championship season. 6 wins for Vielander now.
Yeah, and with a couple of different co-drivers, and both of them are very, very fast. And this is to take nothing away from Miguel Molina, who is a rocket ship driver, but the lap that Danielle Serra put in qualifying at Road America may have been the lap of the year in a qualifying session.
Yeah. Over a second clear of the field. You just don't do that at this level, but sometimes you just get it right. You hit the sweet spot, the driver is in the rhythm, and the grip level is there for that peak lap.
So far, no change from the last rundown of the order I gave you. Let's see if Vielander finds a little bit more. He did. He improved His time drops to a 1:33 flat, essentially, but did not move up, still sits fourth.
6/10 off of Souček, who had a new fastest first sector. See if he can find any more time as he crosses the stripe.
Decent second sector, and then bails for the pit lane. Margins right now, it's 81 1/1000ths from Souček to second place Hargrove in the 58 Wright Porsche. Then 3/10 to Baptista, another 3 back to Vilander.
Yes, Porsche's very much in the mix here this weekend. Expect, you know, with the configuration, the layout there, just getting the power down through that infield section and actually launching up onto the Roval as well, onto the banking is important, and they do that very well.
Look there at that beautiful machine from Capex Racing. Here's a look at the 91.
A bit wide, Dave. Yeah. The tires scream mercy through that sort of double apex of 6-7. This is where the stripe is, where we'll start the races right there.
It's interesting, on a track map, you look at turn 8, it looks like it might have some flow to it, and in reality, it's pretty snug, isn't it?
It does. You can see there, Anthony tried to charge the corner, ran out a little bit wide, then that kind of throws you off to set up for 9. I think this is a racetrack where, you know, they're starting to explore the limits now. They're starting to kind of overdrive the circuit and recognize that it's a circuit that you have to compromise your lines in a little bit to get the lap time.
Yeah, right now Souček's lap, again, unsurprisingly, is the fastest lap we've seen so far this weekend at 1:32.4, 2/10 faster than the best time in the second session, which ran in the cool of the evening last night. So I would submit that being 2/10 quicker in the absolute heat of the day here, that relative to last night, these cars could be running about a half-second quicker if it was running in those cooler conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key tomorrow is to, you know, you're going to be chasing the racetrack a little bit as it rubbers in, and then certainly tomorrow night for the final race of the season. Andy looks pretty pleased with himself there. It's a great run.
Yep.
Turn over to Alvaro Perez. They'll give each other a little bit of feedback.
Well, that's the important thing. Both of the races for this Blancpain GT World Challenge America unfold Saturday. One late morning, and then under the lights at night for the big season finale. So that puts a little bit more pressure on these drivers, a little bit more of a tightrope walk to make sure that you don't, especially if you're in a championship contention, you don't wad the car up, because you don't have 3 weeks to get the car turned around. You got 6 hours.
And as you said, it has somewhat of a street course feel. So there's certain parts of this racetrack, you make a mistake, it can have big damage. So you have to factor that into race one performance.
For those of you who've been following Renger for a few years, that very familiar helmet. A lot of input there. So when you look at these guys having this discussion, you could see the old hand signals and the like. What are they talking about here, Cal?
Well, they're just talking about what the grip level was like. They would have certainly debriefed after each test and practice session over the last kind of 36 hours here. But right now is what does this car feel like in these conditions on fresh Pirelli P0s? And this is a combination that's been very strong over the last couple of years. And the only reason they're strong is because they have great chemistry. They can read the car in a similar way. And Andy's trying to give Alvaro as much information before he climbs aboard that cockpit.
And Alvaro was a quick study, no question about that, as Molina will climb in behind the wheel of the number 61. It's our Ferrari of Toronto, Alberta, Ontario. And Zeckelman Industries, a longtime partner of this R Ferry squad. And they have had just an absolutely stunning season, but only 4th quick in that first qualifying session.
Yeah, and a good chunk off, 6/10 off essentially of what Souček did for the pole.
Yes.
Hargrove did a really nice job putting that Porsche up onto the front row, under a 1/10 away, so that bodes well for them tomorrow. Souček, as we said, in the number 9 Bentley is going to be Pat Long aboard the 58. Maxime Soulet aboard the 3. Baptista lined up 3rd.
Settling in, buckling in. I believe that was Mr. Cameron who was getting ready to go out. Here's a look at the standings.
At 6,
Keep in mind
10.
Keep in mind that if it's a white background on the number panel, that's a Pro class. If it's the black with the white number, that's the Pro-Am, and the red, we have one entrant in the Am category here from Turner Motorsports, the BMW M6 GT3. But not too bad a run for the K-Pex Racing boys and the Bentleys in those top three. And the guy who was atop the order with a sparkling 132.437, Ryan, Andy Suchek.
Yeah, it was an outstanding lap for Andy. Just got out of the car, had the debrief with Alvaro. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first, tell us about the car and how it gets around this track here in Vegas.
Well, I'm enjoying the experience. I know some of the drivers don't really like the layout, but I'm quite happy. Since the first laps I did, I felt comfortable with it. I think it's very different to other tracks. You need to try and find the grip instead of just driving like you usually do on a racetrack, trying to find the right line. Here is more about finding the lines where you have more grip rather than the logical lines. And I think I found them since the first practice. I felt comfortable. The car feels very good, planted. All my 3 laps were pretty solid. And then I tried a bit of a extreme lap on the last flying, and I was coming a bit quicker, but then I did a bit of a mistake, which is usual when you push so hard, and I knew I secured a good banker time. Scott is obviously very close, so it means that the race is going to be tough, and the Porsche, I think, has good tire deck. But all in all, I'm happy, and now Alvaro has a tough group, so we left him with all the sharks. Let's see what he does.
Well, we saw you giving him the debrief. Your hands were moving around. The guys were wondering, what are you telling him to get him prepared?
Or we are Latinos, so we obviously have, warm blood. But I was trying to explain him how the track felt now, because I felt a few differences to the first previous session. The more input I can give my teammate, the better for him to be prepared. So I think we work really well together, and hopefully he can put a good lap time.
Congratulations. Great lap.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
That was a great answer. He didn't tell us anything about what he passed along, but explained what he was doing. And speaking of what he was doing, let's hop on board, Cal. This was the lap that gave him the pole. Talk us around.
Well, this is coming out of the chicane. You just widen up through the gears. On the back stretch, see him just blend a little bit over that white line and then down in a heavy brake zone. Hit the ABS a little bit, then just trying to unwind that wheel. The rhythm section through here. A couple of fast kinks, one to the left, and a follow one up over to the right. Not quite flat. It's like a double apex, so kind of run pretty wide through there. Just try to ease into that power as soon as you can, not abuse any track limits right there. Nice fast stretch here. This is where that start and restart line is. Hard braking here. This is one where you can overcharge the corner. Suchek does that nicely. And then it's all about that transition, having the platform with the front end of the car that will change direction really quickly. And he knows he's on a good one right now. It's all about keeping it tidy here to finish off the lap. Very tricky section here, 11 and 12. Got some curbs you can use. He doesn't get on that one on the left side, otherwise that would throw you out towards the wall. Now his job is complete. He's just winding it up through the gears and looking for that time to come up on his board to see if he's got the pole.
All right, and as they are getting ready to go, that is the car, the number 9, that currently sits on pole for the first of the doubleheader races, Alvaro Parent on board, and then the number 3. And the reason they're up on the jacks with no tires is after starting the season without them, they introduced tire warmers into the program, and so they wait till the absolute last second to put those hot tires on these cars.
Yeah, Watkins Glen was the first event that we utilizing these tire warmers. So for Andy Suchek and some of the other drivers who run over in the Blancpain Championships in Europe, they're used to this. So, but it's new for our teams, but everyone's dealt with it very well. And it changes your approach. I mean, we saw initially in that session some drivers just going out there. You got to remember, it's go time. Just try and get those tire pressures up to match the temps, and then the lap time will be there.
And as we take a look at these Bentleys, remember 2, or actually technically 3 classes are running in this category. And in the Pro-Am category, a rather rapid Brit put it on pole.
Yes, another impressive lap coming from Till Bechtelsheimer. Good enough for class pole for race number 1. And it seems like the consensus talking to drivers has been it's going to be difficult to overtake once we go green. Do you see it that way? And if so, how valuable is this pole?
Yeah, I think it will be difficult to overtake. Yeah, I think there's a couple of spots where, if you get a good tow, you can probably, make an overtake under braking, but in general, it's going to be a hard track to overtake. So, Yeah, pretty surprised with the pole. Just before we came out, we were saying how we thought we had a good car for the race, but maybe not for qualifying. So it was a bit of a surprise, but it puts us in a good position for tomorrow. So we're really happy.
Certainly does. Now, looking ahead to tomorrow, where are the trouble spots around this track? It's certainly a unique layout. So what has you up at night as you think about race one?
Yeah, for us anyway, it's the last handful of corners in the infield right before you come back onto the kind of straight, the banking. There's a lot of curves, and for some reason it's really unsettling our car, and we've been trying to figure out a way of making the car more stable back there, and it's been tough. So it's a real handful, and I think that's where it's going to get exciting.
Congratulations on the pole, and good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Interesting as comments as we hop on board there. Here is his teammate now out in the number 95, who has always been very quick. As a matter of fact, in a different series, which is recently crowned champion, Mark Miller.
Yeah, he's a stalwart of GT racing, really. Kind of a sneaky bronze. Got some great drives over in Le Mans because of his bronze rating, but I think he's been a great mentor for Till as well, and I think they work well together. It's a great little team, and they make a lot happen, and it's a big pole lap. I mean, sometimes if you're not happy with the car, suddenly you get those fresh tires and you dial it in nicely with the pressures to start the session with. They did it well. Let's see if they can match it here on the second run. But as Andy Suchek said, all of the sharks are out now, so we'll see what happens.
Boy, that is so true. And I was going to mention that, you know, he had talked about that those last sequence of corners. He said there's some curves back there, and that our car hasn't been very good on them. He said we're trying to figure out, but you know, a way to use them because it might be quicker to do that. And it's a trade-off, isn't it? If you soften the car up so it's more compliant over the curbs, you don't have that platform stability to really quickly change directions in a lot of this infield stuff.
Yeah, you're spot on there, Greg. That's exactly what happens with the compromise of the setup. If you soften it up to make it, you know, be able to use the curbs a little bit more, will it still give you the platform and the sharpness that you're needing from the front end? And again, we're coming here for the first time. I think there's only one driver in this paddock who's even competed here before, and he's not running in this race. That's James Safronis running GT4 competition here this weekend. So you don't have a notebook to work from. Everything's new, and it's down to the experience of the teams to just try and look at the track before you get here, put your best guesstimate in terms of setup, but then having a driver who can give the information quickly and make effective changes without getting lost.
Watching here, Kyle Marcelli, really throwing it around here in the MBRP Performance Exhaust Racer's Edge Acura. And he has been just superb this year. A couple of overall poles he's put in, just super quick. And they come in here, they got a relatively comfortable lead in the Drivers' Championship, assuming that Dane, as you talked about, who wouldn't be eligible as the pro running essentially by himself, but uncomfortably close in that team championship by 2 points.
Yes, that's everyone's going to be focused on, I think, with the Drivers' Championship. Effectively settled because, as we said, Pat Long, little mistake in the 58 right Porsche.
That is literally something you rarely see. So,
He's gone fastest in the first sector, so he's pushing hard. And I think if you feel it start to go, rather than locking up the brakes, just let it roll. There's a lot of runoff in certain corners, not every corner. And Pat probably just using his experience there, recognized the car was over-rotating or whatever. Just let it have its head, let it go. Have a little reset here without flat spotting those tires.
And I just want to be able to say this because it's so great to have him back behind the wheel. Alessandro Balzan on the provisional pole in the number 64 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari that he's sharing with Brett Curtis. Just rings true, doesn't it?
It does, and he's out to make a statement. It's tough to be away for as long as he has with some medical issues, and great to see him back. He's done a couple of races over in Europe, so he's knocked the rust off a little bit, and as we expected, he's up to speed very quickly as we see the Turner Motorsports BMW going slowly on the speedway.
He must, maybe did he just blow the chicane?
I think so, and that's the problem, as you blow the chicane, you got to blend back into that apron section without impeding the cars that are on a quick lap.
And not make any huge gains in terms of time. And I think that he played that beautifully, to just be very slow, let the next car come through. So this big wiggle there by Alessandro through turn 12 to not end up with one of those false times of not running the chicane. Probably well played, but you can see right there, as slow as he went, we just look at the monitor and he just jumped up to an awfully quick lap. Then that'll get cycled through, obviously, and deleted.
Balzan is now second. Parent holds the top spot right now in the number 9, so they're going for 2 poles for the number 9 Bentley K-Pax machine. A couple of tenths over Molina, who just jumped up to second. Miller doing a nice job in that number 5 car. He's 4th overall right now.
That car is just quick. I don't think you want to mess too much with it. Now let's see here, Pat Long getting a good run to recover from that spin and move that car up the order. See where he ends up now. As he
Purple in
through.
sector 2.
Pole! 132.557. A tenth quicker than Parent.
10th quicker than Parent. Not quite as quick as Soucek ran in that first segment of qualifying, so there may be still a little bit out there. As seeing a lot of personal bests out there, so this order may still change here with just under 9 minutes to go.
Interesting line that he uses into the turn 3. It looks like he turns in a little earlier than some of the others do.
Yeah, and consequently you could see a lot of steering input, Greg, coming off, which means you can't get back to power as quickly.
Here's where he spun. Just a nice flow through there this time.
Fastest in sector 1. That 58 car is hooked up. Parent jumps to the top of the 32.2. That's the fastest time of the day. But Long is on another quick one as we look at him.
It's turn 8. And he is pushing it hard. Diamonding turn 9 just a little bit. As soon as he exits turn 12, we'll have a clue as to what the second sector looked like.
Cameron jumps up to 5th. The number 43 real-time Acura, 4 tenths off a pole. It's pretty tight there in that top 6.
That would be the Pro-Am pole right now. Long. See what he does here. And second.
Yeah, he improves, but not enough. Still got to find a good couple of tenths, quarter of a second basically, to get that pole away from Alvaro Parent and stop a Bentley sweep of the poles here.
Bentley sweep and a same car sweep. That would be indeed impressive. So it's Parent in this number 9 Bentley.
Quicker still. 32 flat, keeps lowering that mark.
See if he pulls Soule around with him, who's right up behind him. Apparently Mr. Soucek delivered some pretty solid data to him.
That's right. He listened well.
Indeed. So Parent, Long, Molina, Soule, and then Cameron 5th overall on the Pro-Am pole for real time. So Bentley Brain Trust through turn 3.
Alvaro's so smooth. Yeah, I think he's just cruising right now.
I think so.
Probably waiting for the feedback, see if he can.
He's got a margin of over 4 tenths right now.
Yeah, that's huge. And remember, you have to start on the tires that you qualify on. So if you don't have to take any life out of them, better to try and save them for the race tomorrow.
Everybody's still learning about tire deg on this track, obviously. And
yeah, Soucek related to the Porsche having good tire deg. I think by that he means it's good in terms of it doesn't get a lot.
yes, yeah, exactly.
There's that bigger curve. It's got a very different profile there through turn 12, and it's a nasty wall on the outside if you do try and climb all over that one.
That's a good point, because that curb is unlike any other curb we saw on this track at all. All right, what does Soule do here? Currently
Brent's
sits
had enough.
4th.
He's in pit lane.
Almost overran the chicane there. Long has hit pit lane. Not a lot between Long in 2nd and Molina in the 61R Ferrari in 3rd, then Soule. Cameron Campbell, Matt Campbell in the 91 Wright Motorsports Porsche is 2nd.
Yeah, I expected him to be a factor. He was very fast here yesterday, the young Aussie, so.
Here's Molina.
So right now it's a cut and paste of the first segment in terms of a 9:58 front row sweep. Molina can put together. That was basically a recovery lap there.
Yeah.
Now this should be a go lap. Sometimes it's frustrating for a driver, Greg. You cool down, just think it's all going to be there, and then when you start to push, is the grip level still there? Have you kind of exceeded the threshold of where the temperatures and the pressures need to be to give you the grip you're looking for?
Well, you hear the phrase sweet spot a lot, but it's true, isn't it? That there's a certain point where this isn't a long track, so maybe for 2 laps those tires are magic. And then after that, they just lose that little bit.
Molina, personal best, first sector. Can he do anything? Can he find basically a 1/10 of a second is all he needs to get up onto the front row? I think Alvaro's pole time may be out of reach for anyone right now, but Molina's on a good lap. Can he wrestle that Ferrari onto the front row? Turn 8, what does he do here? How much of that exit does he use?
Well, here's a look at 0-4 in the hands of Colin Brown. He's one of our Pro-Am competitors. Colin, it's a 133.2, has him 11th overall, 7th in the Pro-Am class.
I think that just shows how competitive this field is when you see, and Molina does jump to the front row. 32.3.
About 3/10 off Perrent, but he made up a good 4/10. That was a great run.
Yeah, it really was a nice lap. And he'll be happy with that. They can get a good result from there. They've been really good in the pits, a lot cleaner this year than they were last, so it's good clean pit stops, and all be about the undercut and the overcut in the race tomorrow.
And Cameron is on one here, and that car whistling down, just passing Molina here. Great lap to move him up into second, but that car in front of him is on a flyer right now. Dane Cameron trying to see if he can do anything and improve. I mean, he's on the Pro-Am pole. I wonder if he's just thinking, you know, if I can find a little bit of speed, I can move myself
A couple of tenths
up
puts
a
him
road.
third. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But that first sector was a good one, not quite his personal best, only a few hundreds off. But he's going to really need to nail this lap. He said the car's been pretty good. He said this racetrack isn't totally in our wheelhouse with this Acura NSX, which has been so impressive this year. As we mentioned, the team coming off an overall win for a Pro-Am combination at Road America. Just a magic day for real time in many ways.
Yeah, it was indeed. Got their 100th World Challenge win in competition. All right, let's see what he does here. He's a little off on that second sector. He was well off. 132.8.
Yeah, he's off.
Yep.
Yeah, he's pushing hard. That's it's basically the tire is just not giving him what he's looking for, and he realized he had to attack that corner and just gives it up as soon as he got that lock up there. Just there's a point that even the ABS can't arrest.
Right.
Yeah, the problem you're incurring there.
Well, and it was smart of him too. As soon as you heard that chirp, he just came off the brake.
Yeah.
Said, I can run through. I'd rather run through the grass than flat spot the tire. Yeah, got that beautiful chrome graphics package on for this Vegas weekend.
You can see the two battles we're going to see tomorrow. I mean, this Pro-Am battle has been sensational. There you got Cameron from Campbell, from Balzan, from Marcelli, from Van der Zande, Miller, Brown.
And look at the times for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Dane's got a little bit of a margin over Campbell, but after that, it's
down to Brown, who's 7th in class. So.
Exactly. And if you throw out Cameron's time, a 32.90 for Campbell, and you go to a 32.98 for Van der Zande, 4 cars back, a 33 flat for, I mean, it's just incredibly close.
Rosella, his engineer, just waiting to get a debrief from Michelotto. See the hands moving there from Molina. He was fighting it. It was going a little bit everywhere, but that's what it takes. He put together a great lap. I mean, that was about 7 tenths quicker than Tony managed in the earlier session, I believe. So that's a big jump.
Yeah, that was a stellar lap. I remember many years ago there was a commercial from one of the manufacturers. I don't remember which one it was, but it just showed a number of racing drivers, and all it did was it had people moving hands around like this, and it just started off, and then there was the audio came in. It says there are over 100 languages in the world. This is the language of racing. It was absolutely incredible, as was the lap of our pole sitter in this one. Let's check in with Ryan.
Well, we're talking to Andy Soucek for a second time in qualifying, which could only mean one thing: 2 poles for you and your car. We were just chatting a moment ago. You gave Alvaro the advice, and that's helpful, but he also put in a pretty perfect lap, you were saying.
I shouldn't have said so many things. I'm not happy, to be honest. I mean, the fact that he was nearly 4/10 quicker than me, I mean, it's not very fair. As a teammate, I would never do that to someone else. But no, cracking lap. I think he did exactly what he had to do. But it's true that a little bit of advice is always better. He had a bit less fuel, but as I say, you know, it's not 4/10 for sure. He pulled out something magical from the pocket, like as he usually does in quali. He's a very good qualifier, and I'm very honored to have been his teammate this year and to work with him. It's always a pleasure. We have fun and we do well, and that's at the end of the day what matters. And that's how the results actually come to life when you enjoy what you do and you do it with passion. That's what we have.
How critical do you think starting up front for these couple of races to close out the season is going to be?
Very critical. I think to overtake here, as I said already in the first practice, is very difficult. So if you get a good start and you can pull a bit of a gap, if you don't do a bad pit stop, I think, you know, if nothing happens, you're looking good. But it's racing, so anything can happen. It's obviously the best position to start, and we'll try and win at least one of the 2, if not the 2, and finish the season on a high.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as he said, he gave some good information to Alvaro, but Alvaro, as he is wont to do, extracted a superb lap out of that car.
He did, and that's going to be key because let's not forget, even though the driver's title is wrapped up by Tony Wieland, a big, fierce manufacturer battle between Ferrari and Bentley. Ferrari have a 17-point lead currently, but that could swing big time if they sweep the weekend for Bentley.
Yeah, without doubt, as we take a look at the results here, once again, you see the number 9 on pole for both races. Our Ferrari, the Ferrari, pushing the 58 Porsche back to 3rd in this one. Then the 2nd of the Capex Racing Bentley is sitting in 4th. And then on the Pro-Am pole is the number 43 Real-Time Racing Acura NSX. But they've got a little margin, but behind them, that battle in Pro-Am is going to be absolutely intense in terms of the battle here that's going to unfold. And remember, it's a doubleheader weekend, so on Saturday, tomorrow, we have the racing. First race will be late in the morning, and then the season finale for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America will unfold under the lights here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And let's check in with Ryan with, I think, one of our real-time drivers.
Yeah, we saw Dane put up the lap there in Q2 a second ago. His co-driver Mike Hedlund joining us now. It's a good place to start, especially at a place like this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know about the passing here once the race gets started, but it's always good when you start near the front. So I think we'll be pretty good tomorrow.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, they should be. They have been ever since they missed the opening round, and then they have been a force, certainly. And there's Martin Barkey, and Martin is a guy who's got himself a little bit of a lead with his co-driver in the Drivers' Championship. Scant margin for the team. This one's going to be fun.
It will be fun. There's going to be some big battles at the front of the pack and in the middle where the Pro-Am guys are seen. We're seeing Pro-Am drivers on the front row this year. Today, they're a little bit further back, but that'll make it exciting. We'll be looking at 2 battles.
Yeah, and they should be superb. You're not going to want to miss it here. And, of course, just to remind you, there's a full slate of racing for the other categories that are part of this championship as well that will be unfolding for Saturday. So you're going to want to set aside some time in the recliner, tune in, and watch an awful lot of great racing unfold. As we said, the first of the Blancpain GT World Challenge America races, green flag anticipated to be 10:55 local time here, and this is Pacific time. So do the math. Settle into your recliner with a cup of coffee and kick your day off watching some great racing here from Las Vegas.